that you're promoting right now for your album. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So I really am curious on how you feel what's going on right now in gospel. You have artists working with secular artists, and you have this big brouhaha that Tasha Cobbs is working with Nicki Minaj, and you have Fred Hammond working with Snoop Dogg. What do you feel? And I know you're in LA, so you probably are more, situated to meeting these people and actually working with them in the future. But how do you feel about gospel artists working with secular ones?
I think it's a great idea if your agenda is to expose God to people. If your agenda is to glorify God and to introduce people to God and to be a witness to them and to pair up with them to talk about what you're talking about, I say to God be the glory. Now listen, if we follow the life of Jesus, Jesus didn't hang out with all the saints all day and all night. He hung out with a whole bunch of people that all of the Christian community and all of the believers thought he shouldn't have never been down with. But at the end of the day, everywhere Jesus went, he expressed who he was. Everywhere that Jesus went, he remained fully Jesus. So any gospel artist, Tasha, Fred Hammond, and whoever else that wants to go somewhere and express who Jesus is with a mainstream artist, to God be the glory. Ain't we all happy that Nicki Minaj is going to be talking about Jesus? Ain't we all excited that Snoop Dogg is going to be talking about Jesus? Maybe they wouldn't do that if Tasha Cobbs or Fred Hammond didn't give them an opportunity to come into our communities and see that there's a different side of them. Maybe some of these people have struggled, and us Christian people can help them out of them and help them to be more on the Lord's side if we wasn't so busy isolating ourselves from them. So I'm not one of them stingy Christians who think God is just for me and he's just for us. That don't make no sense with the Bible. That don't make no sense with Jesus, and that don't make no sense with God of all creation. So I think that we absolutely should go outside of our communities and bring the gospel everywhere that we possibly can. Do the collaborations, but do it for God's glory. Take Jesus everywhere and remain fully a representative of Jesus wherever you go. And I think God is happy about it. And I think all of us Christians who might have some negative to say need to shut up, because that is not God's plan, for us to always have something negative to say about somebody just because God didn't give it to you to do it. Well, maybe that ain't your call. Maybe that ain't your ministry. But these people who are usually singing something so completely contrary are talking about the goodness of God and the love of God and the joys of knowing that God still loves them and he's in their life. Or they're saying something to promote and advocate faith. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. It happened in the Bible days, and Apostle Paul said, listen, some of them got some contrary lives, but whatever. They all preaching Jesus, so it's all good. And I say, even now, it's all good. Whoever doesn't understand it, it's not your ministry. It's not your call. Maybe you don't understand it because it ain't for you to understand. It ain't for you to do. But for those who God has called to that, do it well, shine for Jesus, and maybe souls will be brought into the kingdom of God just because you chose to put yourself out there and didn't care what everybody thought and what everybody said. I applaud Tasha and Fred Hammond. And for the record, Mary Mary's doing a song on Snoop Dogg's album too. And guess what? Everywhere we go, we bring in Jesus with me. Like Anthony Brown's song says, everywhere I go, I take my Jesus with me. And that's what we're supposed to do. And go everywhere. Go everywhere. Go into dark places and shine for Jesus. Go into ungodly places and bring God. Go wherever you go and take Jesus with you. That's what we're supposed to do.
All right, you guys just heard it here, right here on Path Magazine. You got Mary sisters doing a song with Snoop Dogg. Is it both you and Erica, or is it just you?
Yeah, that's what Erica and Warren tell me. We ain't been able to get in the studio and make it happen, but they've been telling me about this for the last month or so. We just been having problems getting together because we have so much of our life separate. So juggling our schedules is a real challenge. But yeah, they told me that, Snoop is doing a gospel album. He wants us on it. I'm like, Snoop want to talk about the Lord? Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Like I said, everywhere I go, I'm taking Jesus with me. And so that's what we're supposed to do.
Awesome. Well, I hope y'all got something on there that speaks to Brother Donald Trump, because we in some turmoil right now. How do you feel about what's going on with the Charleston, Virginia situation and Trump's comments kind of saying blame should be on both sides? How you feel about that?
I'm a little different probably from most people that you interview. I see the entire world and every single thing that happens as a God problem or a Jesus situation or a devil situation. I see less color lines. I see less political power and money lines and educational lines and all these different divides. I see less of that, and I see the world that there's a evil power and there's a good power. There's a God and there's a devil. There's right and there's wrong. And at the end of the day, anytime something is wrong and anytime something is evil and anytime something is awful, the devil is behind it. So I choose not to focus on the person that the devil is using. I choose to focus on the fact that the devil is doing it. And the Bible tells us we don't fight against flesh and blood. So I'm not fighting against another race. I'm not fighting against a president that I disagree with. And I'm not fighting against anybody else out there who's acting a fool, because I don't fight against flesh and blood, but I fight against principalities and powers and rulers of the darkness of the world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And so you fight that by getting in agreement with God. You fight that by praying for whoever it is. I pray for Donald Trump. Yeah, he's making a bunch of dumb decisions and acting a clown in office. But you know what? It's a bunch of other presidents who have made a bunch of bad decisions. Our responsibility, what God has told us to do, is pray for our leaders. So I pray that his eyes will be open to the ignorance and the dumb decisions that he's been making and the unwise things that he's been doing that's not for the benefit of the people, that seems insensitive. I pray that God would open his eyes and cause this man to have a heart to care for all people, to do what is right, to do what is just. But again, I expect God to be God, and I expect the devil to be the devil. And sometimes the devil is using people, so they do crazy stuff like these racial wars and all of this insensitive foolishness. You sitting up here thinking that you got the same blood that's running through you that's running through me. You got the same heart and the same mind and all of the same things that the same God created us with, and you're retarded enough to think that you're better than me. Guess how I look at that? I look at that you have a problem. And so I'm not taking someone else's personal problems personal. I think a lot of the problems that we're experiencing in the African-American community is we take that stuff too personal. Now, yes, people are killing and all of that stuff is so horrific, but I believe that, like the word says, if my people which are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn away from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven. I'll forgive their sins and I'll heal their land. My thoughts are, God, I'm not going to let their actions dictate my reactions. My perspective is, God, I'm not going to let the fool that they're acting make me act a fool. I'm not going to do what I think that they're doing, which is absolutely horrible, but since they did it first, I'm going to do it back to them. I'm going to fight fire with water, not with fire. I'm going to fight hate with love, not with hate. I'm not going to keep buying into your foolishness. Every time you act a fool, I show up and start hollering how bad it is. I'm going to sit up and study the laws, study the government, find out everybody who's in office, and I'm going to take a bunch of equipped, educated, well-learned, and informed people, and we're going to go down there and fight and require a difference amongst the powers that be. The problem is not that those people went out there and acted a fool and did a protest and got all of this attention. The problem was who gave them the authority to do that. Go deal with them. Don't deal with the idiots that are down there acting a clown, thinking that they're better. They got personal problems. You think that you're better than me? Then you got a personal problem. And I don't even give that any consideration, because I think anybody who actually thinks that, they have a problem. So God needs to deal with you. I'm not taking your personal problems personal. I got the same potential. I got the same ability and capacity inside of me, because the same amazing God that created you, even though you acting like the devil, he created me. So there's nothing inferior about me. And since I don't believe anything that you're saying, or I don't regard anything that you're saying to be valuable, I'm not going to give it my attention and get all high strung and up in the airs about it. You acting a fool because you're being led by the devil. Well, I'm going to act right because I'm being led by God, and I'm going to ask God to give me the strategy to navigate this and to better this situation and to fight this with wisdom, with love, and effectively.
Amen.
My perspective
Amen.
on all the stuff that's happening.
Woo, take a breath. Chris
I'm just saying, like, if I look at the world like it's a devil problem, God gave me authority over the devil. If I look at the world like it's a race problem, well, I'm still a minority. I'm going to feel like I got the short end of the stick. If I look at the world like it's a financial problem, you got billions and I got millions, I'm going to feel like I got the short end of the stick. If I look at like it's an educational problem and you got a PhD and I just got a high school degree, a high school diploma, I'm going to feel like I got the short end of the stick. If you have something greater than I have, and I'm looking at it in natural terms, I'm going to feel like that that there's no hope. But if I look at this situation like, you know what, you got the devil in you, but I got God in me, and God is stronger and more powerful, and he gave me authority over the devil. So whatever you're trying, it's not going to succeed. Yeah, you're doing some horrific stuff, but this is not going to go down in my life the way you choose to, because I serve God. And the promises and the commitment that God has made to me dictate that my life is not going to turn out the way you saying. It's not going to happen for me the way you're thinking. I'm not living my life in fear. I'm not going to be intimidated, and you don't get to dictate the outcome of my existence, because God already put that in place. And so that's what I'm trusting. That's what I'm paying attention to. And I got hope in that, which means none of these other situations can make me hopeless. Yeah, they make me angry. They make me frustrated. They make me irritated, and they make me sad. But I always have hope in God if my perspective is that that's a devil problem, but I have God in me, so I can handle that.
Amen. Amen. Tina Campbell here with Path Magazine. Tina, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to get into everything you. One of the things I wanted to ask you is going solo. Has it been everything you thought it has been? What have you learned? And are you kind of glad you've had this experience being a solo artist outside of the Mary Mary moniker?
I didn't have no thoughts or plans for it, so I don't know if I could say this everything that I thought it would be, because again, I didn't think nothing and I didn't plan. It just all kind of happened, and it seems like that's how God is working my life out. A lot of things I didn't necessarily aspire to do. I mean, I aspired to be happily married and raise my kids well, but as it pertains to ministry and career aspirations, I didn't have necessarily a bunch of them. I just wanted to do something that I enjoyed, and I wanted for God to use me, to do whatever I do in a great way, and I wanted to do something again that I had an affinity for, and so I didn't necessarily see myself ever being a solo artist. I didn't desire to be a gospel artist with my sister. It just kind of happened. I liked music and I liked singing, but I always thought that I'd be teaching somewhere. I didn't think that I was going to be a person that was up front, but God had a different plan for me. I never thought I was going to go solo. I absolutely told Erica, when you finish with all that you're doing in solo land, I'm going to go do things with my kids and work on some of these other ideas and creativity and visions that God has given me. And when you're ready to do the singing thing again, I'll be ready for Mary Mary. I never thought I was going to be solo, but God took me through some things and brought me through those things, and he gave me music. And so I figured, since he gave me all these music, I'm supposed to give it to the world. So I ended up being a solo artist. And what I can say about it is that it has been an incredible journey, because it has been a journey of healing. It's been a journey of growth. I've had to face myself and deal with myself and really find out who God is and who I am in him. I've really had to apply this gospel and live it, and I find no fault in it. I find the gospel to be all the good news that I ever need and ever want in my life. I find God to be super amazing, and he's my Father and my Savior and my Lord and my King and my every single thing. And I became more acquainted with all of this as I've been on this solo journey. So I'm grateful that I went through the things in my marriage and that I had to go through to just kind of separate myself from my sister and deal with myself and my life, because it ended up in a pit, going through all of the hell that I went through in my marriage. I actually found God, and God allowed that test of my faith and that test of my life to become a testimony, and I became so personally acquainted with him, and I'm so in love with him that whatever he wants me to do, whether it's with my sister and Mary Mary, or solo, or with my husband, or with whoever, however I can allow God's glory to be expressed in my life, I'm willing